Hi, you're with WION. Thanks for joining us this evening. We're starting with some breaking news coming in right now. We're going across right to Brussels, where Carles Puigdemont is speaking. Remember, the Catalan leader is currently in Brussels, in Belgium. What exactly he's doing there is he's seeking asylum in Brussels is the big question. Remember, it's in addition to being the capital of Belgium, Brussels is also the headquarters of the European Union. The EU has very categorically sided with Spain on the independence referendum that was held in Catalonia. The crisis, of course, still underway. The Catalan leader Puigdemont is speaking in Brussels currently.
Pel Parlament espanyol i és una querella que confirma l'extrema agressivitat que planteja el govern espanyol contra el govern i la mesa del Parlament de Catalunya. Una querella que no se sustenta jurídicament.
Now, Spain's Attorney General has accused Catalan leader Carles Puigdemont of rebellion and sedition, as the former regional president has reportedly fled to Belgium to seek legal counsel along with other members of his dismantled administration. He is currently speaking in Brussels, which is the capital of Belgium and, of course, where the headquarters of the EU are.
Abusives, com ja vam veure en el cas dels dos líders del moviment cívic actualment a presó, Jordi Sánchez i Jordi Cuixart. Una querella que s'afegeix a l'opció pel camí de màxima bel·ligerància que ha triat el govern espanyol i del qual nosaltres no farem seguidisme per responsabilitat i per prudència. És des d'aquest punt de vista que, com els deia, el govern legítim de Catalunya ha adaptat el seu pla de treball prioritzant 4 àmbits que els explico a continuació. Des quatre ambits que je vais prioriser. Premier, une partie du gouvernement, avec moi-même comme président légitime, nous ont déplacés à Bruxelles pour faire évident les problèmes catalans au cœur institutionnel de l'Europe et dénoncer aussi la politisation de la justice espagnole, la seva absence d'impartialité, la seva volonté de poursuivre les idées, pas les délits, pas les crimes, les idées, et aussi faire évident au monde les graves déficits démocratiques qu'il y a aujourd'hui à l'État espagnol et notre résolution, la résolution aussi du peuple catalan et notre engagement au droit à l'autodétermination pour le dialogue et pour une solution accordée. Deuxièmement, deuxième décision, une autre part du gouvernement, au fond de laquelle il y a le vice-président et aussi la tête de la candidature Junts pel Sí, qui continue la Catalogne.
Like Carles Puigdemont there speaking in Brussels, where he's fled without announcement, still trying to figure out his legal status in the seat of the European headquarters. Currently, though, Mr. Puigdemont is saying that dialogue is no longer an option. This, of course, while he's addressing the media in Brussels. Carles Puigdemont, remember, the Catalan leader, has fled to Brussels. He's just addressing a press conference, a very chaotic one at that. The reports coming in on Twitter says that hundreds of journalists have gathered there in Brussels to hear Mr. Puigdemont speak. He's already, of course, said that the Spanish government has followed a belligerent path and effectively placed dialogue out of the mix entirely. Now, Mr. Puigdemont, in addition to being in Brussels, which happens to be the capital of Belgium, as well as the headquarters of the European Union, has chosen an interesting place to say that he's not demanding asylum. Remember, the European Union has very categorically said that it stands with Spain when it comes to the Catalan referendum. It stands for a united Spain. Puigdemont, of course, is speaking from Brussels, where he has said that he's not in the country demanding asylum, and said that its dialogue is, of course, no longer an option.
Que le gouvernement espagnol a décidé de façon illégitime de nous quitter de notre responsabilité, de cesser. Tous ces membres du gouvernement, y compris qui était le ministre de l'Intérieur, de la police, qui a dû diriger toute la politique contre les attentats de Barcelone, ils ont aucune protection, aucune. À partir que la police espagnole a pris le contrôle de la police catalane, ils ont décidé de ne donner aucune protection.
All right, let's go across to WION senior foreign editor Padma Rao joining us from the newsroom on that story. Padma, Mr. Puigdemont choosing to speak in a mix of languages. I'm reading that already 4 have been used, but what exactly are the key takeaways from his speech there from his press briefing there in Brussels?
Aisha, indeed, as WION has been saying, he's striking a note of conciliation. He has been asked at least twice whether he is here to seek asylum, as reports in Central Europe have suggested that the Secretary for Immigration for the Belgian government did indeed offer him asylum, and that the Prime Minister of Belgium put his foot down and said no, because that would be violating the tenets of his membership, the country's membership with the European Union, as well as put Belgium in a very embarrassing position as far as the government of Spain is concerned. As you know, the public prosecutor in Spain is on the lookout for Mr. Puigdemont. He wants him, to appear before court on charges of treason, for which he may face between 15 to 30 years of prison. So the court has not as yet to accept the petition, but there is a situation there in which Mr. Puigdemont may well find himself arrested if he returns. But at this press conference at the Press Club of Brussels, which was very crowded and very chaotic, which is indeed, as still continues, as you can see, it shows that there's an enormous amount of interest across Europe, because this kind of separatist movement is not unknown, but it's unprecedented, at least in the last 40 or 50 years of Europe's history. So yes, he is in Belgium. No, he's not here to seek asylum, but he's certainly here, as he has repeatedly emphasized, because Brussels happens to be not only the capital of Belgium, but it's also the capital or the main seat of the European Union, which, as Carles Puigdemont just said, is also founded on the same tenets of democracy, human rights, etc., as indeed the autonomous province of Catalonia is.
Right. What options, Padma, really speaking, does Mr. Puigdemont have, considering most, if not all, major European powers have sided with Spain on the Catalan referendum?
Well, you know, I'm not going to mention, but I should mention the fact that there are a bevy of other countries outside the European Union with interests in either, embarrassing the European Union or affecting it or trying to, cause some mischief there, which have expressed support for Catalonia and for Mr. Carles Puigdemont. So I'm not suggesting that that is the next step, that he will travel onwards to the east, to Russia, or dare I say, even to Latin America, to Venezuela, whose president has also come out to denounce Madrid. But certainly there is, I think, everything is going to head towards talks all over again. And certainly that would also be in Madrid's interest, because Madrid did send in the police and there were violent scenes playing out in Barcelona, as you know, over the last weeks, Aisha. So I think that is a situation that Madrid will want to avoid, and will possibly invite Mr. Puigdemont, to talk all over again. Now, having said that, he did say something interesting. He did say that he's looking forward to the result of the December 21 election. Now, remember that the Spanish government has just dissolved the assembly, or the government of Catalonia, that is Mr. Puigdemont's government, and declared fresh elections on December 21st for the regional government in Barcelona. Now, Mr. Puigdemont at this press conference says that he demands from the Spanish government that the Spanish government too, just like himself, must respect the outcome and the result of that election on December 21. So this certainly sounds like a hint, and he did say he's going back to his motherland, Catalonia. So this certainly sounds like a hint that he's willing to go back, providing Spain takes the next step, offers talks perhaps, waives, does not press the prosecution charges against him, and allows him to go into the December 21 election as a candidate to contest the seat of President of Catalonia all over again. I think that is where this is headed, and that is what WION has been analyzing throughout.
Right, that's a long list of possible demands from Mr. Puigdemont. Does that place also, Padma, the European Union in a rather awkward position, because he is using Brussels, as you pointed out, which is the headquarters of the EU, to launch this tirade against Spain? He's had some pretty interesting remarks about the belligerent path, as he calls it, that Spain has taken towards crushing the referendum in Catalonia.
Yes, most certainly. The European Union often finds itself in knots because of its constitutions, which are based on the tenets of human rights. They're all signatories, all European states, to the Convention of Human Rights. So that did place it in a quandary, because on the one hand it had to support Madrid and not support the call for independence in Catalonia. But it did come out with very sharp condemnation of Madrid's sending in the police forces into Catalonia and the violence that erupted on the streets over the previous weeks. So that was something that the European Union also had to condemn in the same breath, because, as I said, it is bound to the concept of human rights, and any violation of those human rights, including by its own members like Spain, has to be condemned, at least in the public eye.
Padma, what do you make of his comments about dialogue not being an option anymore?
Well, you know, he can say what both sides have been saying. Dialogue is not an option anymore. At least Spain has said that after giving Mr. Puigdemont, after setting a deadline, the first deadline, and then when that expired, there was another deadline set, and when that expired, a third deadline set. So it's only after several deadlines expired that the government of Catalonia was dismissed at all, and Mr. Puigdemont then took a car to Marseille in France, and then from Marseille he crossed the border to Belgium and is now in Brussels. So all this has happened with a lot of staggering, which leads me to believe that both sides have been trying to find a way out. In fact, Madrid perhaps a little harder than Mr. Puigdemont, to try and find a solution, to try and, somehow seduce Mr. Puigdemont back to the negotiating table. But he has not taken that step so far. In fact, the Constitutional Court of Spain even gave Mr. Puigdemont the opportunity to come to Madrid and present his case as to why Article 155 should not be imposed, the regional parliament of Catalonia not be dismissed. They did give him that opportunity. But Mr. Puigdemont, who initially said he would go, refused when he said that he'd heard reports that Spain was going ahead with its imposition of Article 155 anyway, and that his presence in the Constitutional Court was merely a formality. So he did not go. Instead, he chose to go to Brussels.
Padma, do you feel, or would it be a fair estimation to say that these developments have led to the focus shifting from the independence movement itself to the characters at play, Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy, of course Carles Puigdemont as well, and in that case, do these developments also put a question mark on the entire independence movement itself?
Well, certainly. I mean, Mr. Puigdemont was an unknown personality in the rest of the world, outside, in fact, even outside Spain, I would say, even outside Catalonia. Not many people knew who he was. Many people who live in Europe are aware of Catalonia's, sort of autonomous status, because, as we've said before, there are several such regions across Europe, and Europe is not as, it's not as, it's not the same all over. It does have pockets where you have regional languages and dialects within main languages, you have ethnicities, so that you have different religions. So it is, quite a multi-ethnic, multicultural society. But having said that, all these pockets of multiculturalism have so far prospered under the umbrella of the European Union. Indeed, that is the reason why many experts or observers in Spain and in other countries are asking themselves why the Catalonian movement, the Catalan movement, was silent between the years of 1975, 76 and 2006, 2007. Right. Those were 30 years of prosperity under the European Union. So there was not much talk of separatism or holding a referendum. It was always about negotiation for a bit more autonomy or for a few more deals here or there. So this only really, I think, the European crisis, the recession of 2006 and 2007, in which Spain took the maximum beating, that was the turning point, at least for this movement.
Padma Rao, appreciate you joining us and bringing us perspective on that developing story. We'll, of course, get back to you as and when we get more details on Mr. Puigdemont's press conference.